Oh my goodness. Oh dang, that thing's...
Look at that thing.
Hello everybody, KMS here, Happy New Year, and for the new year we're going to be doing a countdown for the top 15 most memorable fishing moments of 2021. So we're going to be doing it the same way as we did our hunting countdown, and the way that we do that is we show the clip first and then I'll cut back to me explaining why it got the ranking that it did. Then if any of these clips pique your interest to see the full video, I will have 15 to 1 down in the description, and each one of those rankings will have the individual video linked. So, let's start off with number 15.
Oh, that's a bigger one too. That time it was on the spinnerbait. Sweet.
The reason that this falls in at number 15 is because it's a different method that I don't normally use while fishing. It was on a spinnerbait, and I kind of have the fault that I always stick with the wacky rig when I fish for largemouth. So it may be a bad thing that I stick to one, but it was just nice to catch something on a different method that I don't normally use. So with all of that said, we're going to move now to number 14.
Oh my gosh. That's bigger than the one from yesterday. Look at that monster bluegill.
And the reason that this falls in at number 14 is because it always surprises me when I catch a sunfish or a bluegill at this location. It is at the bottom of a dam, and there's always running water in this area. And that's not typically where I expect to catch a bluegill or a sunfish. I expect to catch it in very still waters in like a pond or a lake. So every time I catch one here, it really surprises me, especially because it's a kind of a polluted body of water. So every time I catch one there, it surprises me, and just the sheer size of this bluegill or sunfish really surprised me as well, because it was a massive fish and it would have been very good eating if the water was a little bit cleaner. So with all of that said, we are going to move now to number 13.
I am out of crawlers, so I'm going to use the rat. I'm going to head my way back to the car, and any spot that I can see to fish where I can cast this out, I'll throw a couple casts along shore to try to get a pike or hopefully an aggressive bass. Whatever wants to bite, I'll be happy with. So I'll make my way back to the car, and hopefully we can catch some fish on the way. Smallmouth on the rat. Awesome.
The reason this falls into number 13 is because it was very surprising that I caught a smallmouth on the rat. I wish I would have gotten the blow up on camera and had the camera recording a little sooner. And if that would have happened, it probably would have made its way higher up on the list, just because I was honestly expecting to catch maybe a largemouth or a pike. I did not expect a smallmouth to strike a rat. So I thought that was really cool because I have not caught many things on the rat. I was honestly kind of screwing around a little bit just to try to get another pike on. So it was very surprising to me, and it was a cool experience. So now we will move on to number 12.
Oh my goodness. Oh dang, that thing's... Oh yeah!
Oh my goodness. Took your...
What?
That just came out. He took your... Is that yours?
Oh, it is. You little...
Nice perch. Finally got something worth getting excited about. I'm pretty sure that's yours.
There was only 2 big ones, so...
That's a big one. Now we're back down to small again.
The reason that this fell in at number 12 is because it was a very eventful day on the ice. It was a struggle to get out there. We had a long trek with very thick snow, and I felt like I was about to die when we got out there. So it made me realize that I was not in as much shape that I thought I was, and it was just a fun day. We had lots of laughs, and not shown in this clip, but my other buddy was also out there as well for a little while, and he actually caught his first fish through the ice that day as well. So it was very memorable, and the reason it goes lower on the ranking is because we did not catch anything magnificent. We were catching fish after fish all day, but they were all the size of my pinky for the most part. We caught some decent ones, but it probably would have been ranked a little bit higher if we actually caught some very good fish. But it was also a very good day on the lake, being able to catch that many fish, and it was just a very memorable day overall. So now we will move on to number 11.
What is it? Oh my gosh! First fish of the day. Not necessarily what I was after, but that's a pretty big start to the day. Fought pretty hard too. Look at that thing.
So the reason that this falls in at number 11 is because a lot of people don't like catching these fish, but this was honestly my first year probably catching as many suckers that I did. I caught quite a few suckers at this location, and they're honestly not that bad of a fish to catch. Most of the time they put up quite a bit of a fight, and other times they just sit there like a log. So for the most part, they're a pretty fun fish to catch, and I caught some pretty decent sized suckers. So as long as I'm catching fish, I most of the time don't really care what it is. That is why it made its way to where it did. So now we move on to number 10.
It's in the weeds. Oh my. Oh my. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is huge. This is a massive bass. I almost lost it too because it went right in the weeds. As soon as it hit the water, the line started running, so that is huge. The reason that this one made its way to number 10 is because it was kind of a struggle to start out fishing here. I fished at this lake one time before and it was entirely covered with weeds. So I had a pretty good idea of where I needed to go to be able to catch some fish. And when I got there, I realized that they had sprayed for weeds. So all of my techniques and strategies were thrown out the window. So it was a long struggle to be able to figure out where the bass were. But once I figured out where they were, I ended up catching quite a bit of decent bass. And don't forget that all of these videos are going to be linked down in the description. So if you want to check out any of the full videos, there will be a link for every single one of them down below. So with that said, we are going to move now to number 9. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Another one on the wacky rig. And the reason that number 9 was so memorable was because of the struggles that I had that day too. It was honestly unlike any other lake that I've ever fished before. It would go from about 4 feet straight down to about 30 in a matter of seconds. You could see the drop off plain as day. And typically those are the type of spots that I like to fish because they are different types of structure for the fish. But when the entire lake is that kind of a drop off, you don't have a very big concentration where to start. So I had to look for something very different to be able to catch some fish. And once I finally found out the technique that worked, I kind of got into some fish and my trolling motor burned up. So that's the only way I can get around on that boat. So I had to anchor off and rewire that out in the lake. But finally, I got it back together and was able to catch some more fish after that. So now we will move on to number 8. Oh my gosh.
You want this?
Yeah. Get it.
Holy crap!
I thought I had weeds on. Look at that tank. That is an absolute hog right there. That's like my biggest bass of the year so far. Number 8 is actually the same lake from number 10.
And like I explained, this time that we went, it was covered in weeds. So the best way to find fish was to actually find the deepest spot that the weeds could not grow up through. So we were finding little tiny sections in between the weed beds, and I actually caught quite a bit of big bass that day. And like I said, it was probably the biggest bass that I caught so far in the year. So it was a very good start to the day, and it was a good start to the fishing season, being able to catch some big ones. And with all of that said, we are going to move now to number 7. What is it? Need the net? Oh my goodness. That is a dandy.
About a 22-incher. Here last year, I think. 18-inch smallmouth. Ken, when you're with me, I don't catch a lot, but I catch some big fish.
Yeah. And if you caught that last statement at the end, it is a reference to a later clip that I'm going to show. And he said that he doesn't catch many fish while he's with me, but the ones that he catch are pretty big. And that is very true. That was a very nice smallmouth, and it was obviously putting up quite a bit of a fight because the rod looked like it was about to snap. So it was a very slow day on the river, but we luckily were able to catch some decent fish. It actually ended up turning into a catch and cook later in the weekend because our bass fishing methods were not working on this river. So if you want to check out that video, like I said earlier, it will be linked down below. Now we will move on to number 6. That is a monster.
Put your thumb right here.
Alyssa's was a monster. I'm kind of jealous. Number 6 is the same location as number 14. And if you have never watched those videos, we actually fish on the low side of a dam off of a bridge. So we got 65-pound test. And when I saw her pole bending like it did and her trying to heave that giant smallmouth out of the water to try to crank it up that 15 feet up to the bridge, I was a little excited, as you could see. So it was very memorable, and it was very exciting, and it is still her biggest fish to date. So now we will move on to number 5.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. That is massive. Giant smallmouth on a bobber. Well, the smallmouth was 20 inches, and it's probably the biggest smallmouth I've ever caught in my life. On a bobber, nonetheless. A very nice smallmouth. I'm very excited about it. This might be a decent spot to come fishing at.
Number 5 comes from a Google Maps fishing challenge where I was trying to figure out the best spot to fish after I moved off to school, and I actually could not figure out how to fish this location. I tried, I think the day before, trying to use plastic lures, rubber worms, all the kind of stuff that I normally use. And finally, for some reason, I just decided to get some night crawlers and go back to this location. And it was very productive. I ended up catching a lot of big fish and actually got my PB smallmouth this day. It was a great day on the water, and I'm excited to go back to this location next year. And number 4 actually comes from the same video.
A huge pike just attacked my bobber, so I almost just lost bobber number 3, and it cut my line right off. That was huge. Well, I couldn't help myself. I just tied on a spinnerbait to try to catch that massive pike. Throw a few down there. I don't have anything besides my fly rod and this lighter rod, so it should be an interesting fight if I can hook into this. Oh, it hit it. It came back too. Got it. Well, I got him. Not as big as I thought it was, but still a pretty nice pike. And I threw it through there one time, and he came after it twice and missed both times, and then I threw it back in there again, and I watched him take it. That was awesome. Whoa. Tried to do a epic release video of it, but he kind of went crazy as soon as he got in the water.
And the reason that this made its way up to number 4 is because I actually have probably only caught about 5 pike ever while fishing. And just the fact that I watched him take my bait and cut my line going after my bobber and then casting out and getting hit just about every time that I cast it out. And finally, I was able to land him. And for me, that was pretty exciting because, like I said, I don't usually catch or even try to catch pike. So it was pretty cool to catch it, and it was, for me, a pretty good sized fish. And now we are going to move on to number 3.
Good right there.
I'm just gonna lift up and just hope for the best. We're gonna hit one sideways and flip. Make sure you lean to the right. We may be in a little bit of trouble. There's some storm activity.
I think we'll be alright though with the lightning because trees are above us, right? Is that the way it
We're
works?
in the water.
Okay, it's the first time we hear thunder, get out.
Oh my gosh!
We're about to get really stormed on, I think.
Did you see that?
The whole tree just went down. Well, I might have to put the camera away so it doesn't get soaked. Yeah, we're screwed. Oh, jeez! Dude, look at the radar. Alright, I'll see you guys in a little bit. So I don't know if you guys saw that, but a tree fell in the river in front of us because it just came out of nowhere and started blowing like 50 miles per hour. Then, oh,
Send it in my face.
I just dropped that in the water.
I told you they're freaking hungry right here, dude.
So I caught that right there. Anyways, it came out of nowhere
Did you
and
just eat it while it's dangling like that?
I just dropped, as soon as it hit the water, it took it. And the rain came out of nowhere and we could not see like, what, 20 yards in front of us? It was pouring. The rain was coming in sideways and we sprinted across a cornfield.
We didn't ruin any crops.
Yeah, we
Put that
went
out there. We avoided the crop.
barefoot to get to a little tiny section of woods to try to find shelter until that passed, and it was kind of scary. It was pretty sketchy. Would you agree with that statement?
What?
That it was pretty sketchy?
Dude, I almost passed out. I'm not used to running.
I thought there was going to be a tornado.
2 and 3, I actually went back quite a bit trying to decide which was more memorable. Because number 3 in that storm and just that day in general was a very memorable day on the river. It was a little scary at some points, and the reason that it did go at number 3 is because it was not necessarily a fish, and that's why I wanted to put 2 and 1 where they're at, because they actually include the fish for the most memorable fishing moments. I did go back and forth quite a bit trying to decide whether or not I should make it number 2, because it was, like I said, very memorable, and I think if I would have had my GoPro with me, it probably would have made its way up to number 2, because just all of the stuff that happened afterwards, the whole aftermath of us trying to find shelter, definitely would have been a very eventful video for you guys. So if I would have had that footage, it definitely would have made its way up to number 2. But with all of that said, we are going to see what number 2 is.
Oh my gosh, what is that? Holy crap. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh! Look at that thing! That is huge! I can imagine this thing and see if it's bigger than my last one. This thing is a monster. It tied with my old PB that I got a few weeks ago. It is 20 inches, so tied up with my old PB. That is a ginormous
Smallmouth bass. Look at that thing. Alright, I need to put him back.
So as you could see for number 2, I was very excited for this fish, and I honestly thought I had a carp on or something. Just when I saw it in the water, the golden body going sideways, back and forth, I really thought it was a carp, just the way that it was. It felt so heavy on the end of my line. So when I got it up there and saw it was a smallmouth, I was very excited. And it actually tied with my PB smallmouth that I showed in one of the earlier clips, but I think it would have beat it if I had it scaled, because it met the length at 20 inches, but I'm pretty sure it was quite a bit heavier. So now we are going to move on to number 1 of the countdown, and I'm sure that this clip will not surprise you one bit.
Oh my God! Oh, Muskie just took your bass. Muskie just took your bass. I'm not even joking.
No, it's a big fish.
Is it still on?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Here's my fish.
That's such a
Oh my gosh.
look at that.
Holy.
He hasn't got my line, he's like a bass.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
I lost the whole shooting match. Oh my goodness gracious.
It took it right at the boat.
Did it?
Yeah, I saw it come up and get it because you almost had it right to the boat and it just. Oh my gosh.
Oh man. That was fun.
Wow.
Now we know there's muskie.
Yeah.
He didn't want to give up that bass.
He was coming back for it too. Holy smokes. I literally watched it because you had it right up here at the boat and it just came out of nowhere.
And I don't know how that bass stayed on the hook. And the fish had a hold of it. And then everything stopped and the fish jumped off the hook.
I know. If it didn't get off the hook, I'm pretty sure it was coming back for your bass because it was coming right back to the boat. I don't think I have any lures that big to even fish for. It was hanging on for that.
Like a shark.
Had it sideways. It wouldn't even have the hook in its mouth. You could see the hook outside. It's the biggest fish I've seen in a while.
I'm sure that does not surprise you that number 1 made its way to where it did. Even though we did not land the fish, it was a crazy experience to have, and I'm sure nobody would have believed us if we told them how big that fish was if I did not have the footage. So I'm glad that I caught it all on camera so that we actually had something to back up our fishing story, and it was crazy. I knew that there was muskie at this location, but not in a million years did I think one would take a very good sized bass off of my Poppy's fishing line. So I was very excited when this all happened, and I was just hoping that we could get it in for a picture. But even though it didn't happen, it was a very exciting and very memorable event that I will probably never forget. And it was just a great day on the water. We ended up catching quite a bit of bass after this as well, and it was a great day on the lake. So it is probably no surprise to any of you that it made its way up to number 1. And hopefully next year we can go back to the same spot and try to actually target some of these muskie. But overall, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the 2021 fishing season with me. I hope you just enjoyed the 2021 videos in general. I hope it was nice to look back on this season at what I thought were the best moments. But if you thought any of the clips shown here should have been ranked in a different order, leave it down in the comment section below. Thank you for sticking around until the very end, and I appreciate you all very much, and I will see you next time.